All right. So hello, welcome to our final project. It is titled The Yakama Experience, the Role of Culture and Place in Natural Resources and Stewardship.
We created a visual and verbal storybook of our field trip to Yakama Nation. The visual story is by me, Caitlin, and the verbal story is by Natalie.
So we just wanted to give you guys a little disclaimer. We will not be going through the entire book. We will only be talking about how we created this storybook. And we will have the PDF available for you guys to look through it. We would really appreciate if you were able to interact with this project that we created. If you guys are also interested, we are planning on printing physical copies. And if you would like one, please let us know.
Well, before even starting this book, Natalie and I knew that we wanted to include a dedication page because we were so grateful for our field trip. It was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So this book is to the Yakama Nation for gracefully allowing us to visit their sacred lands.
To Polly, for your strength and courage that you embody every day.
To Ernesto for your positive, calming, and welcoming energy.
To Tom, for taking a leap of faith 20 years ago to commit your career to learning truth and valuing relationships. Congratulations on your retirement.
And to our class for being part of this journey with us.
All right, so here we have a preface, and it is a little introduction to the book. We made this book in an effort to capture the essence of Indigenous teaching and knowledge. Indigenous teaching to us is about the personal connections made through the sharing of place and stories. It was these practices that we felt needed to be highlighted and honored as they have been cast aside and overlooked for centuries. This book counters the traditional Western textbooks. This is a storybook that contains our journey through the Yakama Nation that is full of life, community, and connection. These visuals and verbal stories can immerse viewers into a scene as they are able to follow us along on our personal journeys. We wanted to tell our story of our trip to Yakama Nation from start to finish.
This is our prologue. This is a story told in two mediums. The story begins with us going on a field trip to Yakama Nation. This is our story. So first it starts with the visual story, and I'm going to show you some examples of how I carefully try to compose a story by playing with composition, being very selective of the photos I chose to include, and creating titles for each photo to help curate my story. This is the first example of how I try to play with composition. The image on the left is prying eyes, and the image on the right is shelters and shadows. So in the image on the left, people are looking down into the hatchery, and the image on the right is potentially what they are looking at. This is an image at Fort Simcoe, and because of the heaviness of the topics that we were discussing, I felt like this page deserved its own spread so that viewers can also feel this heaviness. This is my favorite spread. I really try to capture this idea of journey. So the images on the left is the drive, and the image on the right is the climb. The way I laid out the drive matches the language of the climb. So I think that shows how this set is related. And as we climb, we get to this view of Mount Rainier. And if you have access to the PDF, you can see other examples of how I try to tell this visual story through composition and pairing certain photos together. Yep, and that's the end of the visual story.
Next, we have the verbal story that is paired with the visual story. We chose to separate the two stories to allow the images to first speak for themselves and then add the verbal story as context to the images. When writing this verbal story, I felt a great deal of reflection and release as I wrote journal-like entries for each of the places that we visited.
This is our epilogue. There were four perspectives that you saw as you moved through this book. One, the visual story. Two, the verbal story. Three, your own story as you interpret the visual and verbal. And four, going through the book again, but with all three perspectives, creating a fourth one. Each created a deeper meaning of understanding for you to interact with.
We have been changed by this class and by this short yet impactful visit to the Yakama Nation. Perspectives have shifted, and willingness to listen has replaced the urge to constantly speak. There is not much that is certain on this earth, but one thing that can be known is that lending an ear to every situation that you encounter can be a sure way of making a difference in the world. Through the art of storytelling explored in the visual and verbal, we hope to capture the essence of Indigenous teaching, knowledge, and personal connection.
This is our acknowledgement page, thanking some people that helped us create this book. And then this is our postscript.
For the postscript I wrote, the verbal story provided me with a cathartic reflection of our journey to the Yakama Nation. Yet at times I found myself doubting my storytelling abilities and felt that there was no way I could do our experience justice. What gave me a modicum of solace in the end was realizing that I must simply tell what I know to be true. And I hope that this is evident from my deeply personal account.
I wrote that I wanted to work with Natalie on this project because she was next to me as I took every single one of these photos. She was truly my partner through this story. The visual story told was only my second roll of film that I have ever shot, and I had absolutely no intentions of sharing these photos, telling the story, or creating this book. But I'm happy I did because this is one of the most beautiful things I have worked on. And the image on the right is our class photo at Signal Peak. We wanted to thank you all for listening, and we hope that you spend time looking through our book because it's something we're really proud of.
Thank you.
Thank you.